Yes. Parminder sir, can you see the PPT?
Yes, it is visible and you are properly audible. Fine.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ I was in private session, private sector, ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ there was lots of trainers, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਬੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਦੁਪਹਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਆਫਟਰ ਲੰਚ ਵਾਲਾ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਜਦ ਤਾਈਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਰੋਟੀ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਸੌਣ ਦੇ ਮੂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ so I'm kind of getting that feeling that this is the post lunch session because the first topic ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਰਮਿੰਦਰ ਸਰ ਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ it went very well and most of you I could see lots of hands were still raised so he had to wind it up because we were not thinking we'll be getting this kind of great response so anyway with the post lunch session and that too ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ topic ਹੈਗਾ that is ancient Indian philosophy diversity of thought right so this is a leap of faith for me that I went along with this topic because there was while we were discussing what should I be speaking upon this was something I was very much interested but people were saying my philosophies to be ancient India di what are you talking about pehle in the first session you will scare people off but mind aware is nothing if not a giant leap of faith right me Parminder Manpreet we just went along with it we had our convictions this is I believe that this is something that people should know about and would love to know about this is a fascinating topic let me for me right so I assure you it won't be very full of metaphysics and all but I assure you it is a fascinating topic just go along with me so first let me tell you the background of it how come I got interested in this topic ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਲੁਧਿਆਣਾ ਟੂ I was posted at ਲੁਧਿਆਣਾ ਤੇ ਲੁਧਿਆਣਾ ਟੂ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ ਆਂਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ YouTube ਤੇ ਸੁਣੀ it was about Vedanta ਤੇ 1.5 ਘੰਟੇ ਦੀ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਸੀਗੀ ਇਟ ਵਾਸ ਫੈਸੀਨੇਟਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਬਣਿਆ I got interested in other philosophies also because when I went in bit deep I saw that there were many Asian philosophies not only Vedanta there were other philosophies also going around and these philosophies are very sophisticated very subtle and they are brilliant in its scope and aspect but ਉਸਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕਦਮ strike ਕੀਤਾ the thing that struck me most was all these philosophies the 6 philosophies I'll be talking about 7 philosophies today the first six philosophies all come from the same source and that source is Vedas ਉਹ 6 ਦੀ 6 philosophies Vedas ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ they all believe Vedas to be the true source of knowledge ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ Vedas ਨੂੰ interpret ਕਰਦੀਆਂ even after coming from the same source these philosophies are also different right there is so much diversity of thought everyone is coming from the same source by interpreting it differently this was a fascinating discovery for me ancient India I am talking about say 2000 years back 3000 years back उस टाइम पे इस टाइप ਦਾ and these philosophies engaged with them ਇਹ philosophies ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਰਾਈਟ ਇੱਕ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਮੋਟੇ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿਡ ਹੋਣ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਰਥ ਦਾ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਰਥ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ there were people from different schools of thought would come around ਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ there was debate and discussion and let the best school win so what happened was they were always engaging and there will be a victor there will be a loser the loser went back he did his work he worked on its weaknesses he found out the policies and other schools theories and would come back and so on and so forth over course of centuries 100 of years maybe even 1000 of years because what I have read is from 8th century BC to 9th century AD they were definitely this thing was on like modern day gladiators they were all fighting and jostling with each other but here the jostling was not with weapons but with ideas and thought so in today's world now why this topic again the main idea इस टाइम पे हर बंदा everything is so polarized. Every individual thinks he is the custodian of absolute and the ultimate truth. This 150 अपना 2000 साल पहला ते अपने ਜਿਹੜੇ ancestors ਸੀਗੇ, they were so much tolerant. So much tolerant of defense, of debate. There were debates and discussions. तो कोई ऐसी जी गल नहीं थी कि people were के I am right. Everybody conceded that he might be wrong on some aspect. So that is the focus of my topic. That is diversity of thought. So here along, I'll start my presentation. I'll be going through them very briefly. So first I'll talk about 6 orthodox schools. 6 orthodox schools ਸੀਗੇ ਜੋ वेदास ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. सांख्य, योग, न्याय, वैशेषिका, मीमांसा and Vedanta. First was Sankhya. It was formulated by Kapila Muni in the 7th century BC. ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ philosophy ਹੈ, they say कि universe, because this is all concerned with metaphysics, right? So you have to be patient. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. They say कि universe consists of 2 realities, Purush and Prakriti. Purush is a universal awareness, consciousness, and Prakriti is a creative energy, creative matter. And until and unless Prakriti is in equilibrium, Prakriti consists of 3 guns, Tattva, Rajas, and Tamas. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ equilibrium ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, nothing happens. But when Purush comes into play, the equilibrium gets disturbed and the universe is formed. Everything we see around is the combination of these 3 guns. So then there was this epistemology. Epistemology means theory of knowledge.
गौरव,
Hello?
हाँ, थोड़ी सी स्पीड ज्यादा हो रही है. आई एम नॉट गेटिंग इट विद द स्लाइड्स. थोड़ा सा स्लो
Okay,
करते हो आप.
Okay. So I'll thanks for the feedback. So I'll go a bit slow. सांख्य philosophy के अंदर हम epistemology की बात करते हैं. Epistemology is there in every school. Epistemology means theory of knowledge. Theory of knowledge means वो किसको valid मानते हैं, किस knowledge को valid मानते हैं, तो उसके लिए वो प्रमाण को मानते हैं. In these schools there was nothing कि किसी ने कुछ कह दिया, किसी देवता ने कुछ कह दिया या किसी ने कुछ कह दिया तो उन्होंने मान लिया. नहीं, it was about the प्रमाणास, उसके उनके पास प्रूफ क्या है. तो इस स्कूल के अंदर 3 तरह के प्रमाण को माना जाता. So there was first there was pratyaksha, that means direct perception, one that something that you can see and perceive. Second is anuman means inference. Anuman means there is smoke coming from a hill. हम लोग दूर से देख रहे हैं कि there is smoke coming from hill, so we can अनुमान लगा सकते हैं, inference निकालेंगे, there must be a fire. So that is anuman. And then there is shabda means testimony of an expert from a valid source which we can believe in. So there were 3 pramana. And now we come into the concept of God. It is an atheistic philosophy coming from Vedas, and you guys would be surprised. Most of the schools are atheistic. When I that they say that the Sankhya people did not believe into the concept of Ishvara. Now some heavy lines: unchanging Ishvara as the cause cannot be the source of changing world as the effect. So I will leave that line, but I'll just say that it is an atheist school which did not believe into the concept of God. What it believed in was knowledge. Provide knowledge which removes the cause of suffering and leads to liberation of soul. Right? So in all the Indian philosophies, it is not moksha is the ultimate thing that one is striving for. Liberation of soul, mukti, right? So, और मुक्ति कहाँ से मिलेगी? Knowledge, true knowledge. The purpose of Sankhya school is that true knowledge leads to liberation of. After the yoga, the Sankhya philosophy, I come to the yoga philosophy. Yoga, all of you are aware of what is yoga because we have heard about asana and pranayama. Thanks to Baba Ramdev and some of the other neo gurus. But yoga is basically a philosophy, right? I am putting it again after Sankhya because yoga school adopts the Sankhya metaphysics. They believe what Sankhya school says and they engraft the concept of God on. They believe into the concept of God, right? Basic philosophy is Sankhya, and after that they get into the concept of Ishvara also. And it was codified by Patanjali. We are all aware of that. And it is also known as the practical aspect of Sankhya school. I came across this thing from Gita, that evenness of mind is yoga. So here is a great food for thought. Yoga means the cessation of mental functions or modification. चित्त वृत्ति निरोधा. जब आपका माइंड स्थिर हो जाए, right? चित्त प्रज्ञा भी उसको कहते हैं. That is the state of yoga. It is a practical thing, right? That was a knowledge thing. This is something practical thing. That was a Gyan Marg, Sankhya, and this is Yoga Marg. The aim of yoga is to prevent the self from identifying with mental modification. और इसके अंदर एक अष्टांग योग है. योग के अंदर मैंने आपको पहले कहा कि हम लोग अवेयर हैं सिर्फ आसन या प्राणायाम के साथ, बट योगा इज मच मोर देन दैट. So it is an Ashtang Yoga, eightfold path, that is Yam, means restraint, Niyam, observances, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses, Dharana, Dhyan, meditation, and ultimately Samadhi. Samadhi is self-realization. So this is the Ashtang Yoga codified by Patanjali. तो योग की प्रैक्टिकल फिलॉसफी के बारे में हमने बात की कि दिस इज अ प्रैक्टिकल योग मार्ग. और इसके बाद आते हैं दो स्कूल ऑफ थॉट व्हिच आई हैव कंबाइंड इनटू सिंगल स्लाइड, दैट इज न्याय विशेषिका. न्याय स्कूल अलग है, विशेषिका अलग है, बट ओवर द कोर्स ऑफ 100 of years they came very much together. This school was founded by Gautama and it is primarily concerned with the conditions of correct knowledge and the means of receiving this knowledge. It has to be correct, and how do we receive this knowledge, that is also important. And Nyaya school was the first school. It is known as the earliest school of Hindu ancient India, and they brought in the science of knowledge, reasoning, and critical thinking. This Shastra and this to and fro that goes on about, I talked about earlier in my presentation. So that came from Nyaya school. They were like the Ram Jethmalani of law of the early ancient India, right? They could argue about anything and everything. They discover validity or invalidity of knowledge. That is extremely important for them. Invalidity of knowledge is as important as the validity of knowledge. And again, the central theme that runs through, that through valid knowledge one could attain liberation. Epistemology, प्रमाण कौन से मानते हैं? ये यहाँ पे 4 प्रमाण को, प्रत्यक्ष, अनुमान और शब्द मैंने आपको पहले बताया. एंड देन देयर इज अ उपमान, राइट? तो उपमान इज द फोर्थ प्रमाण that comes into this. और विशेषिका स्कूल only considers first two as valid. जो विशेषिका स्कूल only talks about प्रत्यक्ष and अनुमान. उपमाना is basically comparison. Law of karma. Nyaya inquires why some people are happy and others are unhappy. They believe that happiness and unhappiness is simply not random. That is not logical. Everything Nyaya schools and Visheshika school talks about, that is extremely logical by their standards, right? They have written a hoard of literature just on proving or disproving something. So Nyaya says that people are happy, unhappy just because we must be due to the cause of law of cause and effect, which is also known as law of karma. और इनके मेटाफिजिक्स में क्या आता है, राइट? मेटाफिजिक्स के अंदर जैसे हमने पीछे देखा, सांख्य के अंदर पुरुष और प्रकृति है, ईश्वर का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. यहाँ पर है आत्म और ब्रह्म. देयर इज अ सिंगल आत्मा, दैट इज द इंडिविजुअल सोल, एंड देन देयर इज ब्रह्म, ब्रह्मन व्हिच इज क्रिएटर, सस्टेनर and destroyer of the universe, right? But there is one more thing, third thing, that is also eternal, and which I'll explain in the coming slide, that is atoms. Atoms ka concept, and they say that the atom, Nyaya school says that the atoms are eternal. They were always present. Atma, Brahma, atoms, atom को वो बोलते हैं परमाणु, जो शब्द हम आज भी यूज करते हैं कंटेम्पररी लैंग्वेज के. तो एटम्स का कॉन्सेप्ट वहां से शुरू होता है और वो भी एटर्नल है. लेकिन इसके अंदर ईश्वर का कॉन्सेप्ट जरूर है, लेकिन वो कहते हैं इन न्याय विशेषिका, लिबरेशन इज एन इंडिविजुअल एफर्ट एंड ईश्वर हैज नो रोल टू प्ले इन इट, राइट? ईश्वर की भक्ति की बात नहीं करते हैं कि वो लिबरेशन के लिए. देखते मोक्ष कम्स अबाउट बाय correct knowledge of things, of which Ishwar is also a Atma, Brahma, atom. This is theory is also known as atomist theory. So in Western sciences and Western thought, they have studied this philosophy a lot. अब इनकी significance क्या थी? I have earlier told you कि जो प्रमाणा का system था, that was first introduced by Nyaya Visheshika school. It developed a sense of logic and reasoning, which was adopted by other schools. And right knowledge was the only way to obtain release from suffering. ये एक common thread है. और जो बाकी चीजें इनकी डिफर है, ईश्वर है नहीं है, कैसे ओरिजिन ऑफ यूनिवर्स कहाँ से है कहाँ से नहीं है, प्रमाण क्या है, उसमें सारे डिफर करते हैं. लेकिन राइट नॉलेज एंड मोक्ष इज द सेंट्रल थिंग व्हिच रन्स थ्रू ऑल ऑफ देम. नाउ अ ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन अबाउट ब्रीफ थिंग अबाउट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एटम और परमाणु इन दीस स्कूल्स. अब आई वोंट से कि आई एम नॉट वन ऑफ दोज हु विल से कि एंशिएंट इंडियंस वर you know, they knew everything, they were so much advanced in science and everything, but this is a concept that they have written a lot about. The Nyaya Visheshika have written, they are known as atomist school, as they talk about the smallest particle of earth, water, fire and air, right? So it is, they say it in their text and literature, it is the most indivisible state of matter. Can you imagine 3000 years back somebody said there's an atom present, which we cannot say the existence of atom if you is proved by inference, anumana, not by perception, because there were no microscope by then, right? But because of the system of pramana, they deduced that there is something which is most indivisible state of matter, which cannot be created or destroyed. Amazing. That the first time I read it, that blew me off. Now I come to the Mimamsa philosophy. So I guess, I hope all of guys are with me. Mimamsa philosophy is basically, it is totally एक आजकल शब्द हम यूज करते हैं कर्म कांड. This is basically a very ritualistic school of thought. They believe in it means critical investigation or reflection. For Mimamsa school, dharma means rituals and duties, not devas. Again, I'll repeat this. धर्म का मतलब है rituals or duties as told in Vedas. देवों की बात नहीं करते. They reject a creator God. They believe that Vedas are eternal. They have a huge faith in Vedas that they are eternal, infallible and authorless. तो कहते हैं कि वेदास किसी ने लिखे नहीं, वो प्रकट हुए, इसीलिए उनको अपौरुषीय बोला जाता है, जिसके अंदर कोई पौरुष नहीं. There was no work done on that. तो इनके प्रमाण क्या होते हैं? ये 6 प्रमाण लेते हैं: प्रत्यक्ष, अनुमान, उपमान, शब्द. यहां तक हमने पहले डिस्कस किया है. उसके बाद दे टॉक अबाउट 2 more प्रमाण, दैट इज अर्थपट्टि एंड अनुपलब्धि. तो इम्प्लीफाई करते हैं. जैसे अर्थपट्टि है, अर्थपट्टि मीन्स राम सिंह इज फैट, राम सिंह डज नॉट ईट इन द डे. सो उसकी अर्थपत्ति ये होती है कि राम सिंह ईट्स एट नाइट, इसीलिए वो मोटा है. अनुपलब्धि, अगेन absence of evidence is also an evidence, right? So I will not detail it. This is a very fascinating concept. We can have a total new session on anupalabdhi, how they defined it, but as of today this is final, that absence of evidence is also used as an evidence. And metaphysics है इनका, आत्मा है, and there is an atma is one with consciousness. So that is the concept of atma which we have covered earlier. And they say there are innumerable number of souls present in the universe, and each of us have a own soul. It is atheist school, atheist in the sense that they does not believe into the creator God and hold dharma to be equivalent to following the prescription of Vedas. So seen in this light, Mimamsa is essentially ritualistic, karam kandi hai, right? Do your duties and that's it. जिसको हम कहते हैं कर्म मार्ग. देयर इज ज्ञान मार्ग फॉर मोक्ष, देयर इज योग मार्ग एंड देयर इज कर्म मार्ग. नाउ आई कम टू द 6th philosophy, which is the last of the orthodox philosophies, ancient philosophies, and that is Vedanta. Vedanta is something that all of you, most of you would have heard of, and this is the one which is most studied. But It means literally end of Vedas. It reflects ideas that emerged from or were aligned with the speculations and philosophies contained in Upanishad. ये Upanishad जो हैं, they are basically commentaries on Vedas. तो ये उसको मानते हैं, इनके तीन मेन टेक्स्ट हैं वेदांतियों। एक उपनिषद जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया कि दे आर कमेंट्रीज ऑफ वेदा, देन देयर ब्रह्म सूत्र एंड देयर भागवत गीता। तीन इनके मेन टेक्स्ट हैं जिसको ये प्रस्थान त्रयी भी बोलते हैं। द यू नो अभी जब हम डाइवर्सिफाई की बात कर रहे हैं, देयर वाज डिस्कशन एंड डिफरेंसेस की बात कर रहे हैं, वेदांता के अंदर ही 5 तरह के स्कूल, राइट। अब मैं उन सबको नहीं समझाने जा रहा, डोंट बी स्केयर्ड, बट इसीलिए मैंने इसको बहुत छोटा कर दिया कि इसके अंदर, और क्योंकि मेरा सेंट्रल पॉइंट डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ थॉट, आई एम नॉट हियर टू एक्सप्लेन ईच एंड एवरी ट्रेडिशन व्हिच इज बियॉन्ड माय स्कोप, राइट। पीपल हैव बीन वर्किंग ऑन दिस फॉर थाउजेंड ऑफ इयर्स, लेकिन मैं वही समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि देयर वाज नो सिंगल ट्रुथ, एवरीवन हैड देयर ओन इंटरप्रिटेशन एंड देयर वाज नोबडी जो किसी को बोलता था कि भाई तू गलत है। नो, ही वुड कम अप विद से कि ये थ्योरी आपकी गलत है, ये जो बात कह रहे हैं इसको मैं ऐसे डिस्प्रूव करता हूँ, राइट। So it was a very decent way of interacting. All of these great schools became great because of each other, because they were constantly challenging each other. तो इसके अंदर all Vedanta schools in their deliberations concern themselves with but differ in their views regarding ontology, epistemology, और इनकी मेन ट्रेडिशन कौन सी? भेद, अभेद, अद्वैत, विशिष्ट अद्वैत, द्वैत और शुद्ध अद्वैत। मैं इनकी डिटेल में नहीं जा रहा हूँ, बस मैं थोड़ा सा आपको बता दूंगा कि जो अद्वैत वेदांता है वो शंकराचार्य का नाम, दैट इज वेरी फेमस, आप लोगों ने सुना होगा। तो ही वाज द वन, बेसिकली अद्वैत वेदांता उससे पहले भी था, लेकिन शंकरा वाज द वन हु कंप्लीटली फॉर्मुलेटेड इट एंड कोडिफाइड इट इन ग्रेट वे, राइट। अब ये सिक्स स्कूल्स खत्म हो जाते हैं और उसके बाद मैं लास्ट स्कूल की बात करता हूँ, चारवाक। And this is a philosophy, this is, believe me when I say that, it might be very difficult for some people, I guess all of you, to believe that this philosophy is an ancient Indian philosophy, चारवाक philosophy। और वो कहते क्या हैं? They are a completely materialistic philosophy. They say eat, drink and be merry, खाओ पियो ऐश करो मित्रों, and they definitely said that, right? They believe that this material universe जो है यही है जो हमें दिख रहा है, right? They accepted matter to be constituted of 4 elements which are all प्रत्यक्ष, earth, water, energy and air, soul or consciousness. Charvaka said there is no soul apart from this body. आजकल भी अपन सुनते हैं ना, आप मरे जग पर लो। So these guys said it a long time back. The body is material, consciousness, there is no thing as consciousness. So I have written some words, but what they meant is कि consciousness जब तक आपकी body आपके control में है, consciousness है। आपने शराब पी ली, आप you are not in your hosho hawaz, right? So Charvakas argued that consciousness is just a collection of the physical element of the body, and it withers away when body is no longer supporting. As simple as that. And you would have guessed, God, for Charvaka, religion is foolish belief, and God is not necessary to account for the world. Charvaka were very harsh on this priestly class, right? They dismissed Vedas, they dismissed gods, they dismissed all supernatural beings. कोई स्वर्ग नहीं है, कोई नरक नहीं है, neither hell nor heaven. The Charvaks emphasize that pleasure and pain, these are the only things, they are the central themes of life. उनके लिए pleasure in itself is the only good thing in life. The Charvaks did not try to secure freedom from pain, but strive to manage it. उन्होंने कहा कि yes, pain is part of, there is only two things, either it's pain or it's pleasure. So pain has to be managed, and the goal, ultimate game, is to maximize pleasure. Pleasure took precedence over all other priorities of life. चारवाक ने कहा सिर्फ अर्थ है, अर्थ means materialism, and there is calm, that is passion, and that is, there is no other thing, no other purpose of life. But they did believe into the concept of dharma, agar dharma means righteousness, if dharma means righteousness, they say that dharma. But when they say, when dharma included religion in its meaning, Charvaks call it adharma due to class and caste discrimination. Charvak believe that there is no evidence regarding moksha or liberation. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. This is what they say. Cause effect कर्मा को वो इस तरीके से टोल के हिसाब से नहीं लेते थे. What they said was, they accepted cause effect relationship. They accepted that like causes like result. आप ज्यादा खाओगे आप मोटे हो जाओ. Simple as that. So their cause effect relationship is restricted to this life and this world, not beyond that. So यहाँ पर मैंने I have just finished my presentation. I have just kept one slide which I'll cover in a minute. लेकिन इसके अंदर अब मैं फिर अपने सेंट्रल थीम पे आता हूँ. I come back to my central theme, that is diversity of thought and then acceptance of that diversity of thought. So, as you have seen, every school is different. They all were present in ancient India at the same time. They were lineages of scholars and traditions which range for thousands of years. People were completely, they were researching on these aspects and they are coming up with new ideas, new theories, and they were challenging each other. But there was acceptance of these thoughts, that these thoughts accept. अगर आप देखोगे आज की जो हमारा religion है, contemporary religion practices Indic religion basically. There is Buddhism and Jainism also, but it would have become too large, so I didn't cover that. Maybe in some other topic, maybe some other discussion will be taking up that. So, but there was nothing in I juxtaposed it onto the current scenario of India and the larger world. So there is no space for dissent, right? But in ancient India, we should take encouragement from them that every view was tolerated. So इसके साथ ही I will come when it comes to the origin of universe, right? Again, I'll run through my central theme. I'm not going to leave it. As per Rig Veda, what is the origin of universe? How did the universe came into being, right? So who really knows? Who will here proclaim it? When was it produced? When is this creation? Gods came afterwards with the creation of this universe. Gods came afterwards with the creation of this universe. Who then knows when it has arisen? Whether God's will created it or whether he was mute. Perhaps it formed itself, or perhaps it did not. Only he who is its overseer in its highest heaven knows. Only he knows, and maybe even he does not. So maybe he does not. So with these words, I will end my presentation and open the forum for discussion. Just I am very new at using Zoom, so just give me a sec so I can stop sharing. Yes, so I've done it, Parminder sir.
You can continue to share also, no problem.
So anybody has any questions? Lalit sir, I can see he raised his hand.
Yes, sir. Your presentation was very good, and you have explained the things in very few words, but it was very much elaborative. But I will add one thing on this, that as far as the Veda is concerned, now you have told many things. Now in Veda there is one concept, one is Shruti and other is Smriti. Shruti is that once you log on to a particular frequency and you download the things, that is the Smriti, that is Shruti. And one is Smriti, that is the brainstorming which we are doing. So the Veda just belong to the first domain. Over there, our rishis, they just log on to a particular frequency and download the information. Okay, just keep this discussion apart. I just want to know one thing, like you have told something about Charvaha philosophy. It is very much alluring. I just want to know that any literature on this is available in these times, and I just want to know that who is the codifier of this philosophy. Please explain on this.
Yeah, sure, Lalita. Thanks for your question. तो चारवाक की जो फिलॉसफी है, यस, इसका हमें कहीं भी आज की डेट में ये अवेलेबल नहीं. So Charvaki basically somewhere in Middle Ages, their literature was lost. But how do we know that Charvak existed into the ancient India is because all the schools of thought that I've talked about, Sankhya, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Visheshika, even Buddhism, they talked about Charvak argument in their literature, right? Even if you Google Charvak, you will get a context in Mahabharata of Charvak. So they were definitely present. When you say who codified it, so in these philosophies, in these texts, we get an idea that there was a sutra called Brahaspati Sutra. So Brahaspati Sutra is the one that is known as the literature of Charvak, but that is not available. So only reference we get is from the literature of other school of thought. Okay.
Okay, I just want to know one thing more on this. You are saying Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism. You elaborate that what is ism, and once we talk about the Christians, we use the word Christianity. And what is the difference between ism and Christianity? What is the difference? Why we use the word over here ism and there Christianity? What is the difference?
Lali sir, I do not know about why Islam and Christianity because there is Islam also. But the basic funda when I talk about Hinduism, maybe I would have used a word, but the right word would be Indic religion, the religion or the philosophy that came into this land. So Buddhism, Jainism, I don't know about the Ism. If you can enlighten us on that, that would be very welcome.
Actually, the thing is like English people are very shrewd. They just use, once they are talking about Christians, they just use the word Christianity. They talk about the Sikhs, they talk about the Hindus, they talk about any other religion. They use the word ism. Ism means that which is not original. The day in which we are discussing, and they are thinking about our religion, that is altogether a different story. They are saying that the Christianity is something which is original. That's why they are using the word Christianity for that. And our people are using word ism for Hinduism. I think it is shame on us. We should not use this word ism. I am having objection on this. You are using this word time and again, but at the same time, the way in which you have explained Charva philosophy, that is superlative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lalita. Thanks. And this is all this forum is all about. You can have a contrary view at any time, and that's what we are striving at. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I see one good hand raised, Parminder ji Singh, Nima
Gaurav,
ji.
हाँ जी, like in this presentation or you can say that in this discussion, ये जैसे बहुत clear है कि ancient time से we had lot of discussions and debates upon the philosophy. And क्या इतनी ही discussions या इतनी ही debates या इतने ही schools science level पे हुई होंगी?
That is also a great question. कि हमारी philosophy इतनी advanced थी. So if I understand the question correctly is then तो हमारी science इतनी advanced क्यों नहीं? Material science, right? This is also a science. Material science is I do not know because I am not a researcher. I'm not a scholar of this field, but I do have a theory about it. My theory is that I believe that finest Indian minds, the rishis that we talk about, right, they were all engaged. I just gave you the presentation, I told you central theme is always moksha, liberation.
Right.
Acquiring some material things was not something that they strived for. In ancient India, the finest minds were looking for moksha. तो उनकी जो रिसर्च थी वो प्रॉब्ली इसी के अंदर ज्यादा रहे. देखिए हम इसको छोड़ दें, आप फिलोसफी में बहुत बेस्ट थे. आयुर्वेद के अंदर अल्टीमेटली आज हम रियलाइज कर रहे हैं कि देयर साइंस वाज वेरी एडवांस, बट जो मटेरियल साइंसेज हैं, आई believe, this is my personal opinion, some other person can also enlighten me on this, but basically believe that they were not interested much in those material science. They wanted their liberation and they worked for that. So that is my take.
Actually, I'm interrupting on this. The ma'am has asked a very valid and genuine question. When Swami Vivekananda visits Chicago, at that point of time, there is one question to Swami Vivekananda that you are talking so many things, you have explained lot many things. What is your take on the modern science? Then he just answered it beautifully. At that point of time, he just explained about science. He said that from the high spiritual flights of Vedanta, to which the discoveries of modern science is appearing as echoes. He's saying that the discoveries of modern science is not real, it is echoes to the lower idea of idolatry with its multifarious mythology, the agnosticism of atheism to the Jainism of Jains, each and all has a place in Hindu religion. He has explained lot many things on the science. It's a very vast topic. If I would have answered this, it will take another half an hour. So I am interrupting on this. I'm very sorry on this. You please continue.
No need to be sorry, sir. It's a good point. Matlab has been raised and good discussion is going on. No need to be sorry.
So anyone else? Otherwise,
Maybe,
Parminder sir, you can take over.
Gaurav, one point more. बीच में ना
Okay,
अभी
please.
जैसे in presentation we just said that the law of karma leads us to happiness and unhappiness. इसमें just मेरा खुद का personal experience का take है कि happiness and unhappiness is also a part of the feeling. For me, one thing may be in the feeling of the happiness, वो same thing किसी और के लिए unhappiness भी हो सकती है. तो law of karma के साथ feelings का साथ जुड़ा होना भी necessary है.
Okay, I want to add on, but that will lead to another discussion. So not for today, I guess. But Parminder sir, can you take over? If anybody else, I have a question. I think Ruchi Walia has a question.
Yes, Gaurav, like, am I audible?
Yeah, very audible.
Like, he explained Charvaka's philosophy. I like that. And I think that was more materialistic. But even I feel, since ancient times, our religion, Hindu religion, has been using God as a CCTV camera. If we will do something wrong, definitely the God is going to be punish us. So what do you think about this?
I'll let because somebody I would like to answer this question, but I would like to bring in Parminder sir on it because he's somebody who's basically he's got a bird's eye view, right? So Parminder, I have a take on this, but Parminder, would you like to comment on this question about the God being used as a CCTV camera?
exactly, that was a very good point made by Ruchi Walia. Before that, I must say that you also made the topic much more interesting. And particularly, I am also in the majority who got intrigued or who woke up at the Charvak philosophy. Nobody can believe that something of that nature existed. And more profoundly, one very important point was made by Lalit sir that he gave us food for thought on the narrative, how the narrative is built. All the other religions except Christianity have been given the suffix of ism. Narrative building is they make it as a group of a people, not something universal. So that was a great food of thought for us. And about this question exactly, this CCTV camera and all means God has been seen as some kind of adjudicator, not as a friend. Rather, we should see him as a friend. God is there, but we shouldn't see him as some kind of punisher or some kind of appeaser, some kind of judgmental. That means, as most of the philosophies have shown, the last slide was very profound. That whether there is God, whether he created us or we created him, moot questions. So very important questions. You please take over and enlighten us about something.
So CCTV on the CCTV, I think when I presented the first 6 schools, so I again and again hinted on this. Even the schools that had a concept of Ishvara, but Ishvara had no role to play in your individual liberation. So there, if somebody says there's a CCTV, God is watching it, He's not doing anything about it, right? So if you want to, you are doing good things, good karma, and you think God will reward me for it. No, that is not there. The idea is you have to work for your own liberation, and the right knowledge is the key for that moksha.
No, but we are fed. Like if we will do good, definitely we will get the good. And who is
Absolutely.
watching us? Only the God is watching us. We can't watch the God, but God can watch us every time.
Yes. Which God? Who God? Right? The God of the Vedas or the Devas or the one who is the overseer of the universe. And the last line says, maybe he knows, or even maybe he does not.
Yes.
Lalit
Sir,
sir want to come?
yeah, there is one question. You are using the word knowledge. So what is knowledge?
Lalit sir, knowledge is the right knowledge, and every school of thought have their own valid knowledge, right? And what is valid knowledge? As per Nyaya, there is matter, right? Then you have to understand the matter. Then that matter, 16 categories have many, I think about 200 odd divisions. So they are talking, they have defined it. Our ancient schools have defined knowledge very categorically. But but that cannot be, I'm not authority to present on that, right?
Actually, the thing is, you mean to say that knowledge is different for a different person. But my take is different on this. We are talking about knowings. Knowings could be different. No, it is a topic of research when we are talking about knowings. But knowledge is something absolute. Knowing is relative. So,
I agree. I never said knowledge is different for different people. What I said in the first instance is, in my introduction, I said about, because I'm sticking to this school because I have just presented them. They are all coming from the same source, Vedas. They say all of them agree that Vedas are the source of true knowledge, right? So it is not relative, but how they interpret it, that is where the difference.
right.
So if we don't have any other questions or comments, Parminder sir, I would request you to take it up and wind up the session, and thank everyone.
Yeah, I really thank you all people. It was our pilot session. You made it a success. Active and enthusiastic participation. And I'm even more thankful that you gave us much more food for thought. It is very important. It was not some validation of our knowledge. Rather, it was a revealer of sorts for us that there are gaps in knowledge and they will always remain. So in this, so I will like to thank all of you profusely, and very soon we will meet with some new speakers. In that session, me and Gaurav will be just participants, not the moderators or initiators. Some other people will take up, and will all of you are also welcome. It is not owned by us. It is a universal like ownership. We are just trust. It's just a trusteeship with us. So very soon we'll meet. Thank you very much for this session. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.